Hey, welcome back to Drive Time. I am your host, Craig Pasta Jardula, and we do it live, bringing you all the hot takes, headlines, and unfiltered opinions that matter most. Whether you're stuck in traffic, cruising to work, or just chilling at home, we want to hear from you. Today's topics are all about the big stories making waves, but we're not just here to talk at you. We want to hear your thoughts, your experiences, and your take on everything from the latest political debates to the everyday challenges we face. Remember, whether you're on the left, the right, or somewhere in between, we welcome all points of view. So grab that hands-free device, dial us up, and let's dive into the conversation. What's on your mind? It's Drive Time. Call in now. Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Drive Time, your time. And thank you to all out there. I want to make sure my right speakers are on. Am I right? Nope, see? Now, this microphone is hot, right, Josh?
There you go.
Now we got
way less echoey.
Yeah, I know, because I'm in a room that's like echoey, and you need a directional. You definitely need the directional mic now. Sorry for the problems on Fridays. Thursday, we knew there was going to be no show. It was moving day. Man, I don't know what I would rather get done again. Get my teeth pulled, my wisdom teeth pulled, or move. That
moving sucks.
Oh my God, Sleepy. Oh my God. And what's going on? There's 8 of you over here. You're climbing on in. I love you. Go tell everybody else. What are you doing? The other show that's on Rumble right now is a guy who's wearing a hat that says, "You can't beat God." You know what that means? That they can say anything they want. They can come to any conclusion they want. There's now a clip out there, by the way, of I think it's Destiny is now on Surrounded, and Andrew Wilson steps up. If you don't know the history, I destroyed Destiny quicker and faster.
It ain't hard
than anybody's ever done. And I did it in a nice way because, I'm not an asshole. I'm not a dick. But if you know who Andrew Wilson is, you know he's not only a dick, he's like the king dick. This guy, Andrew Wilson. We met at the Cause Fest, which was Rebels for a Cause in Tennessee. I think it was like 3 years ago. It's when I actually met the co-host for today. Alex Strenger's coming back, ladies and gentlemen. I said, sure, buddy. You want to come on a Monday and step up with us? If you do this right and play your cards right, we'll keep you around. If you let the people speak. I messed with him. He goes, yeah, you got something to say, though. I want to jump in. I said, you got to wait your turn. Do what Big Pasta does, or Uncle Craig. You can't see the piece of paper because it's green. But it's in my face. It's a green piece of paper. That's so funny. And a pen. And write down one word as the other person speaking so you can still listen to them, concentrate on what they're saying, and then you can have your rebuttal in timely fashion. So we're going to do that. But it's just, I love the kid. I met him at the Cause Fest. But I also met my other good friend, Eric Hollerback. So the two of those guys, awesome. If you don't know who Eric Hollerback is, he does Klaus Schwab Jr. Yes. Hello, my slaves. That's what he comes in with. I met those two guys. There's a video. I'll try to go find it. We reviewed a pizza store, a pizza restaurant. It's awesome. And I met those guys, and they've been friends ever since. One person I've met that we haven't been friends ever since, and I don't give a shit. That dude's a douchebag. I'll say it right now. Andrew Wilson. Wow. There's a clip of him and Destiny stepping up to argue each other. And I'm like looking at these guys, right? And I'm saying to myself, so Andrew is one of those guys who will wear a hat is that you can't beat God, right? Religious, makes excuses for everything. Muslims are pieces of shit. Christians are the best. Yay. There's also a video
also
out
green.
there. What's that?
Your bottle is also green.
My bottle is also green. I'm in the green shit. Green is really my favorite color, by the way.
I like green.
Not lying. Good color. I do like me some orange and blue right now. Woo! Still on a honeymoon. Shut up, Josh. But me and Andrew Wilson, we got into it, man. And wow, what a dick. But he's out there right now, and there's a clip of him, which represents a lot of the populist right now. The tribe mental thinking, the tribal mental thought, of Donald Trump as our savior, sent here by God to save us. I mean, not to that extreme, but, he's there. Trust me. He's, he believes that you can't be a good person unless you have values, a value system. And that's why Christianity is all right. Like, I need it written down on a piece of paper that says, do not kill, do not murder, to know that murdering is bad. If I don't have that, whatever. And I've said this before in this show, and I've said it on many shows. You can be as religious as you want. You can pick your religion. You can do what you want. That's what this country is all about. But you shouldn't be thrusting your bullshit on me. And we should be governing this world, this country in particular, right, as if we're fun-loving atheists. Very possible. There's an innate behavior within people, I think, to do right, to do well, So that's who Andrew Wilson is. Destiny, who I destroyed in a debate on election integrity. It wasn't even fair, guys. Like, it was not even fair. Could you imagine me saying that? This guy who is like Adderall written, who says so many things, who's got so many speaking points. He was just, if you ever watch it, there was like one point we got a little bit in feisty, but for the most part, it was just me, like like Lee Daga, Master Bruce Lee, dissembling Destiny, right? I think it would be his largest defeat, maybe by Norm Finkelstein. What was his name when he was Mr. Tipton? Mr. Tipton or something, not Tipton. I don't think it was Tipton. It was something else. But he was just like, Norman Finkelstein is like, you are so naive. Like, he went after him. I didn't have to do that. I was really nice to Destiny. We took a picture after. We shook hands. I don't hate Destiny, right? Or I don't even dislike Destiny. I don't
know the dude.
Yeah. I do dislike Andrew.
I don't watch him.
He's just, and Andrew Wilson and I got into it online after, and I'll tell you the whole story. Like, no, you know what? I'm going to hold on to that story. But anyways, I asked Andrew for a favor, and he was I asked him to help me with something because he was in a position to, and he was just a total fucking douchebag about it, and just the way he treats women. He goes on that show, Whatever, right? Sleepy, you know that show I'm talking about? Where they just bring in girls just to belittle them, you know what I'm saying, and break them down.
Are you kidding
It's like the
me?
Fresh and Healthy podcast with fucking Myron Gaines. That's kind of, it's all in the same like genre. And these guys are now doing like politics. Yeah, that's who I want to hear. Yeah, Caleb did take Destiny apart too as well. Caleb actually helped me prep for the first debate. To get into that debate, and I want to thank right now Gabrielle Freedom. I don't know if she's in the chat yet, but she got me on stage. They didn't want to let anybody on stage. This is the Minds Festival, and it was an election integrity debate. And I knew I had to get myself on the stage. I'm like, finally, I get a chance. Let me get in here. They were like, they knew who I was. They knew I could handle it, but they were already overloaded, and they didn't want to do that. I think on that one particular, it was weird because on that one election integrity debate, like 3 people dropped off, and it was just 3 people on stage, plus the monitor. But they're like, hey, man, can you go in? If you go in, Gabrielle called me. He's like, Pasta, they'll let you go in if you do this other panel. Mind Festival in Austin, Texas, right? A nightclub rented out where we have a panel on stage. We're streaming live. And they're like, hey, man, if you debate, if you go on stage for is America becoming a communist country, and you do that debate, then we'll grant you the permission to go and debate with Destiny in the election integrity panel. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'll do that. So I immediately called up Caleb Maupin, Matt Arrett, Wyatt Reed, Fiorella, of course, was like the first, like, you know what I'm saying? So America becoming a communist country, got some talking points, talked some things over, had some amazing notes. And then I get there and I go on stage, and I don't know most people are going to be on it. I met the monitor, it's the one who monitored the debate, and her name was Tiffany Justice from Moms for Freedom. I think that's her name. She was amazing. She's a great person. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, she would be wearing a hat that said, you can't beat God. That's cool. But she's not an idiot. She's cool. She's nice. And I want to make that perfectly clear. I don't hate Christians. I don't dislike Christianity. I haven't gone back on this Christian radio show I do on Saturdays because I just don't want to disrespect anybody at this moment right now, because it is a tender situation as we are having these religious wars going back and forth, and a lot of people are okay with us bombing women and children in Iran because they're Muslim, right? Or a lot of people are okay with us bombing women and children in Iran or allowing Israel to do so as we fund them to the fucking nines whether it be in Lebanon, Gaza, because they are Muslim. And this is a Christian Judaic nation. Also, a reason why they allowed this to happen is because there's a lot of people invested in the stock market. And that's the thing. It's a small amount of people that can really have the lucrative income to invest in the stock market. But, BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, they're into other things, being vulture landlords and stuff like that, vulture capitalists. But they're also invested in Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and whatnot. They own the majority stocks. So even though it sucks and it might be against the Christian values to bomb women and children in Gaza or bomb women and children in Iran, you make money off it. So why not go ahead and do it? So if you're not here right now with us, before I bring in my co-host for today, because he was also in Austin when I went to Austin to the Minds Fest. We went for barbecue together. We went on a rickshaw. We went all around. He showed me the town. It was really fucking awesome. Good morning, Gabriel. I was just thanking you for the time you got me on the stage at the Freedom Fest. The Minds Festival. Freedom Fest was just last week in Vegas again. Oh my God. But if you're not here, and once again,
Do they have a hefty fucking fee?
If you're not here and you're free to worship God, you're free to work, be Jewish and live by the Torah, the Talmud, I don't care. But I don't know if you want to get involved with that kind of fucking divisive type of ridiculous tribal politics. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. Open up your mind, expand it, right? And like I said, we welcome all points of view. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, it's important for me to have this co-host here today on this Monday, because when you have to, you want to be people who think differently than you. You want to have conversations. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Strenger is back on the show.
Oh, well, what's up, Pasta? Thanks for having me. Super fun last week. Excited to do it again. Wide awake, full of life.
You look groggy, asleep, a light behind you. You need a whole new setup. But right now, I can see that clown face. But not like the clown that you play when you go in front of the city councils. The clown after the Joker, the clown facing the Joker.
Oh, where we're Pagliacci, the sad clown. You know what I mean? We're like, this is what the clown's really like. Fuck you. You look like you're about to go. You look like you're about to go and whack somebody after the show, Pasta.
I know, that's the show. Dude, I told you I started a show because I wanted to show I can wear sunglasses. So I did. How do you like the new place?
No, it looks good. It looks like you got a really cushy job in waste management. I'm excited for you.
Stereotypes. That's nice, Stranger.
Exactly.
You know what? Not for nothing. You were okay with going and doing a pizza review with me and shoving it down your fucking face. Going, these are my favorite pizzas and shit like that. Acting like a Guido yourself.
It was delicious. Don't worry about it. It was great.
You were okay with that.
I'm wide awake though, Pasta. I'm ready to go. Fatigue is a lot like being transgender.
Yes.
Because it's all a mindset.
Alex was the first person that said that. I saw him wear a shirt that says, I identify as unvaxxed.
No, I identify as vaccinated. It was trans-vaccinated. I had a shirt with the
That's what it was.
I gotta find. I hope I still have those shirts, but I should probably wear them because I still have it on my Etsy. I do have an Etsy shop, so I should.
So why is it okay to make fun of all transgenders then? To make them lump them in, to think that they all. I mean, when we do that, and don't get me wrong, and I said this before, because the media makes sure they highlights the most extreme people out there, right? Sometimes I'm guilty of messing with the populist right, because you'll see some dude who will be over the top, and I'll try to paint all Trumpers like that. They're not all like that, right? So I'm kind of guilty of doing that too as well. But there's probably a lot of cool transgender people out there, right? I know I got close transgender friends,
cool people
but we kind of identify them.
I think I just
hold on a second. Okay. We identify them as this woke leftist kind of over the top. That woman who said, "Yeah, man could have a baby" in a hearing. That's what the media wants you to think leftism is. Can't we be guilty of that sometime? And I'm not asking this to be judgmental. I'm asking this because I'm just kind of curious, because I love the shirt. You're my friend. We're here. But I'm just saying, if we open up the can of shit worms and say, Are we being cool to everybody else? Are we being cool to everybody else, stranger?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with trannies. I just like making jokes about them. That's all it is. Just like you make jokes about everybody. It's called equal opportunity. It's like the foundation of what it means to live in America. And also, I think a big reason was that like they were trying to jam. It was more about like during COVID, they were trying to jam this experimental vaccine that doesn't really work very well, and it might potentially kill you and give you cancer down your throat, where you have to have a QR code with your health status, while at the same time promoting a lot of the trans stuff in the most stereotypically absurd way, where you had like drag queens and trannies reading stories to little kids and children transitioning and telling a kid that they could identify as whatever they want. So I'm like, well, if you could identify as whatever you want, then I guess I could identify as being fully vaccinated and boosted, having 3 shots and 5 boosters, even though I've never got a single one, because love is love and this is peak inclusion.
Yeah.
That's all it is,
Yeah. No, I got it. And you're also too, as a comedian, like everything should be fair game. And I'm glad that's happening now. It's kind of crazy because I do have some friends who are comedians. One's a Lebanese Christian, the other one's a Muslim Palestinian. And what I'm saying, obviously on a foreign policy scale, from what's going on, they're disgusted. It's terrible. They see it. But I think if they had to make a choice of the lesser of two evils, since they are comedians, Alex, they're going to be more conservative because they're so anti-woke, because it came into their space. Like all of a sudden now comedians can't tell jokes about something. And I think that was from what we're talking about right now today, I mean, in society and mainstream, that's when I think you can talk, like you can have a conversation about a point and says like, all right, you guys started like being, anti-woke in the comedy scene. Like comedians were scared on stage that somebody was going to attack them because they went too far. Well, and I think that was a good position for a person like myself to say, that's a bridge too far. Enough is enough with the fucking woke shit, right?
Well, yeah, it's funny because actually, I have a friend who runs an improv studio in Austin, and one of my first podcast episodes was during COVID, and she's like kind of super woke and whatnot, but she's also very nice. She's also very nice and very cool and has a sense of humor. And I was telling her that like you're gonna see a shift in the comedy scene because like during COVID, because any comedian who's performing during COVID, and Austin is becoming a live comedy hub in 2020. Anybody who's out there performing during this virus is going to have a completely different set of viewpoints than the comedians with Netflix, especially the comedians on Hulu and the comedians that are on SNL. And so you're going to see a huge wave of like conservative and anti-woke comedians that are going to really pop up and start thriving. And I called that like in 2020 that I just knew that was going to happen because I just saw that the places where comedy was still happening were going to be in cities that are not embracing any of the woke nonsense at all. And so if you're going to those places, you can't be like super woke, doing stand-up comedy in Texas during a virus.
Yeah.
So I like the tide is shifting, and COVID kind of started it, and then here we are.
So it's kind of I think about conversations and the conversations I have with my friend David Sadman, who used to have the Sadman Comedy Cafe, a Lebanese guy, and his partner was Nadeem Awar, Palestinian kid. But we'd have these conversations, and we were talking about what the fuck was going on foreign policy wise. And we're just bagging on what's going on and this how fucking awful, how stupid this is. But like I said, at the end of the day, they're like, whoa, wait a second, though. They're more conservative. It's kind of crazy. And that's what I talked about, what I tried to catch at the Libertarian convention a couple of years ago when I got douchebag in front of my face. What's his name? I'm glad I forgot his name. I'm really happy I forgot his name because he's not worth remembering. The Indian dude who ran for president that is now running for governor somewhere.
Oh, Vivek?
The swarmy guy?
Yeah, what's his name?
Vivek Ramaswamy.
So Vivek tried to push this replacement theory. And I love this because I have conversations with like people who run elections, right? There's a video out there right now with Mark Fincham, Clint Curtis from Shasta County, who used to be in Florida, and his whole story, and Raji Robb. I mean, I know elections. Like I said, I have a lot of sources, Alex, but when you want to know about elections, I am the source.
Why would you say that the immigrants are the ones committing voter fraud, and that's why we have all this?
Yeah.
Why? Okay.
That's a bias. That's a bias.
Okay. That all right. But here's what I think the legit concern could be, right?
Yes.
And it's that if one side of the political aisle is super, like, it just becomes super open, like super pro embracing undocumented migrants to open arms and offering them a bunch of benefits and services and whatnot and XYZ. And then the other side is just not. The more immigrants that you let into the country, the more you just secure a permanent voting base without kind of listening to the concerns of everybody else that originally lived.
Okay.
Here.
So let's stay right there.
That kind of could, that in fairness could seriously.
Well, let's stay right there, because the point I was trying to get to, he would push replacement theory. Now, when he would push replacement theory, it wasn't even much him concentrating on the election, Alex. He was concentrating on like this type of society is replacing our type of society, where a lot of, unfortunately, like very low, what's the word? When they don't have a lot of confidence, that's the word, whatever, they couldn't stand the fact that there was like immigrants replacing them. They were that unstable, mentally unstable and whatnot, that shallow to think, oh my God, immigrants that are coming to replace the white man. In a way, they weren't like all Patriot Act, but the replacement theory is more about like the immigrant coming in, changing your value system, changing your religion, and replacing you, right? It wasn't even about the election. However, back to that situation, the way I say my conservative Lebanese Christian friend, David Sadman, the comedian, and Nadim Awar were more conservative and shit like that, you know what I'm saying, because of their, just the way they are. They believe they're comedians, let it ride, whatnot. But even in society, they're probably more like, we don't like the transgender reassignment, puberty pills. Like, in other words, they believe that as an adult, they should be in charge of their children, not the state. So they tend to lean a little bit more conservative. All these people that are coming in are mainly the majority of the people that are coming in. First of all, the majority are coming from the North Triangle. It's 4 countries. Like 75% of the people still coming in. And this is according to the statistics at the border security. Not me, but they're still coming from Guatemala, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador. Those 4 countries, right? That's where the majority of the people are coming through. They are conservatively Christian. So why in the world, and I'll ask you this too, and you can add this to your arsenal when you have these conversations or your thought process, when you see idiots like Nick Shirley doing absolutely nothing. If these people that are coming in are very much conservatively Christian, they're Christian values, right? First of all, they're low-informed voters. They're workers. And they're mostly Christian. Why in the world would they vote for the Democrats?
Because they're low-informed voters, and the Democrats are the ones that are giving them way more services than the Republicans are giving them. And so when you come to a new country, you're going to want as
really. It's Democrats that are paying them their salary. It's the Democrats are in the churches with them in the conservative neighborhoods. Go ahead.
No, what I'm saying though is that a lot of these social programs seem to be funded by a lot of nonprofits, which seem to lean heavily Democrat. And then you combine that with an anti-immigrant rhetoric from the right. I could see a lot of migrants coming in from the border. They're going to be the ones who vote Democrat. And also, wait, hold on, wait, let me finish. And also, generally speaking, if you come from a super poor country in a super poor area, where resources aren't, the access to resources are not the same. And you're coming from a place that's like a war-torn country, colonialism, whatever it is, or nation building. You're still coming to this new country. Generally speaking, if you're coming from a dire situation, when it comes to voting or when it comes to your kids voting, you're going to vote for the political party that is trying to help you get on your feet more than the other party. And if one party makes it about catering to undocumented migrants coming in here, they, in order to get votes, within a few year period, it dilutes the voting base. It absolutely dilutes the voting base, but there's also there's multiple components to it. And Vivek also did say something about H-1B visas and how he supports skilled labor from India and China.
Okay, don't go off on another topic.
No, but I mean, you're saying he's producing replacement ideology. He got flamed on right
replacement theories about bringing in illegal immigrants to replace, or HB1 visas could be one, but bringing them in to replace a society over here. So let's unpack for a second. Who uses the majority of social services in the United States?
Who answer pasta?
Mostly
white Southern, like
middle America, poor white people.
Yeah, poor white. Okay.
So first of all, when we say these social services that are taking place, then all those white people are just dumb and voting against their will, right?
There are a lot of people who are voting against their will.
Low informed voters.
Well, there's a lot of low IQ voters who voted for a guy who spent an entire campaign in his basement.
Yeah.
To be the president of the United States, and there's also there's low IQ voters everywhere, right?
Yeah. According to your theory, white conservatives should be voting for the Democratic Party because they get more social services. And by the way, the red states get most of those social services money from the blue states.
Yeah, because they pay all the high taxes. The whole thing's kind of a mess, right? Like everybody votes against their self-interest, right? Like no political party is actually really trying to help you in any capacity. The concern that I have, and I think a lot of people share those concerns, is that when you cater your policy towards newcomers and mass migration that's coming into your country,
but it's not catered to people. Hold on.
But if people feel that way,
we just said. No, you feel that way. You just said that the majority of social services, we've established this, are white middle Americans. So that the policies are made towards immigrants. That's a theory. Like, in other words, a lot of the source material that people get when I said, where do you get those statistics from? They're coming directly out of the president's mouth, who fucking will lie about what he had for breakfast. Here's another question. Where have you been in Latin America?
I have not really been to Latin.
Okay.
You're more well-traveled in Latin America than I am.
I'm not trying to say that because I think you need to go that because so many.
I don't have listen, man. I'm not like a super anti-immigrant Trumper that
I'm not saying you are.
All right.
I'm not saying you are. We're talking specifically about elections and how it's voting. That's all we're getting at right now. We're not making opinions about anything else.
I don't think, to be fair, during the midterms, I don't think that if the Democrats rout the Republicans, I'm not going to blame it on illegal immigrants committing voter fraud. Okay, so I think that we're past that point, and I think that a concern that I had in 2020 and 2022 or 2024 is a little bit different than the concern I have now. But I'm not going to blame illegal immigrants for Republicans losing. And to be honest, maybe they should lose, because instead of actually promoting medical freedom and sound money and true free market capitalism, all this is doing is providing an excuse to install flock cameras everywhere anyway. So I personally don't care very much who wins these midterms anyway, unless you're offering me a humongous paycheck. I don't care.
No, I hear you. But we got to fill out 2 hours, so we need some content, and we got to BS about some stuff.
Speaking of which, did you hear Marco Rubio's speech?
Frightening.
Oh, bro, that was straight out of Nazi Germany.
Frightening.
That shit was crazy.
Frightening. And I only listened to a little bit because I was.
Yeah, I missed it. Enlighten me.
Oh, well, we'll play a little bit of it. Pretty much. Okay, but this is the thing, Alex.
And Stephen Miller. Shit was nuts.
Stephen Miller scares the shit out of me, dude.
He's crazy.
I remember during the first term, I found out he was 30 or something. I'm like, this motherfucker looks like he's 50. He already sold his soul. What the fuck?
Which, by the way, Alex, I'm hopefully going to try. I'm trying to pull some trips to go observe elections to get some conservative friends of mine like yourself, and I'd love for you to come. If you get your passport, have it ready. Come down to a Latin American country with me, because it's so amazing, because observing the election systems for these countries I love it. It's like my crack. But then we also go speak to all the different communities, all the different sides. And what the problem is I think a lot of people have this mental mindset that everybody in Latin America is like a Che Guevara wearing leftist, socialist.
No, they're not. They're more conservative. Listen, dude. When I pedicab in Austin, my sales pitch would be hey guys, we're fighting communism. If you want to ride, hey sir, we're fighting communism. If you'd like a ride, sir, that's my sales pitch. You know who that sales pitch works best on?
What?
Men from Latin America.
Yes. They're very conservative.
Yeah, very conservative.
I would say
yeah.
that there's nobody more racist towards Latin people than Latins themselves sometimes. Like the conservative Latins that were born here are like, these people shouldn't be coming here. I'm like, dude, you're from that country. They're like, I don't care. I came here the right way. It's terrible.
It's funny. My
yeah.
friend Hernando
So I'm
Arce
glad
was
you
like,
know that. I'm glad it's not a monolith,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying. It's
No,
just
not
like
at all.
America.
Not at
It's
all,
a mixed
not at all.
bag of nuts. So that whole theory, and listen, it is election season. So I'm going to throw these things in here on a Monday, Alex, and I want you to be ready. And I'm glad you don't care. But you can always argue, and we're not going to put it on you. You can argue the other side. You can play devil's advocate. I'm going to do that with you myself.
You know what my ideal outcome for the election is? A split Congress where nothing happens and everything is gridlock. I think the best thing that you could hope for, because of how fucked every party is where nothing can happen and you just get gridlock. And that's kind of like that. That's how I want to vote, is just vote so that like everything is split forever. You know, if you get a Republican majority in the Senate and in Congress, like I'm voting for President AOC. I don't care, you know. But if you get like a Democrat super majority, I'll vote for the most right-wing person there is, just to balance everything out so nothing happens, because none of these things that these people are doing are good in any capacity.
Well, that's a good way to segue into the stuff today. Let's number one, Sleepy. I'm going to go look for.
I just want to learn about the robot birds a little more. That's what I want.
When the guy calls
I just want to learn about CIA.
We're not going to lead with robot birds. When we have an expert about robot
where's Andrew
birds,
at?
I haven't even seen him in the chat yet. Is Ty in the chat? I don't even know if Dave from Melbourne is up. We missed 2 days. I was only trying to miss 1 day because I didn't want people to like lose the show. Like I didn't want to lose the momentum, right?
Yeah.
But Friday morning, I woke up and I set everything up, and all of a sudden the internet was off. And the last guy who was here said he was going to leave the internet on, and I called him. He goes, I didn't have it shut off. They're not supposed to shut it off to the weekend, but they knew my service was being hooked up that day, and they shut it off. So I had a very bad start with Hotwire right off the bat, and then my internet was shut off. They wouldn't. It's been a bad. I have to get on the horn with them. It's been a bad experience so far. It hasn't been the worst, but we have internet now. I was supposed to have it on Friday, and I lost. I didn't want to lose people, but we're going to have a cool show today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Drive Time in the Mornings. Thank you. There are 17 people on the YouTubes. I love you guys. And there are 21 people on Rumble. Rumble beating us. Woo.
Wow, Rumble. Yay. Yeah. Free speech winning. Yay.
I'm very humbled by doing this. This is less than 38, episode 38, whatever. I remember starting off with the Convo Couch and like this. And then like after a year, we just busted through. And we were gaining so much momentum. And then we just got demonetized, censored. We were like the leftists talking about Epstein when nobody on the left was. We were told.
I know. Now they're talking about Epstein since Trump got in. It was so ridiculous. I'm like, come on. Yeah. Like
you couldn't talk about Epstein because it would hurt Hillary Clinton back then. And that's when Clinton was running against Trump. And they're like, you're helping Donald Trump because Epstein was more damaging to Bill and Hillary Clinton than it was to Donald Trump. In this case, Donald Trump is now, it hurts him when he talks about it. And he's trying to avoid it. But everybody should see that they're all part of the same fucking team.
Well, yeah, this is true.
But here's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm cool. And there's a video floating out there right now. It's a Rumble video. And it's very boring. And that's the thing. I get it. Like I'm into election integrity. And it's not a sexy point of view. People don't like to talk about it. But to me, I think it's the most important thing. Because you just said we're going to vote and hope that things are gridlocked. Nothing gets done. We're at an impasse now from where we're at. If things can't get any worse, if it gets really, really bad and we allow these people to shut down our food systems, our food chain, to further, surveil us. And that's what the Republicans coming in do. They'll be tough on crime. That's how you got flock cameras. That's how we are moving closer.
Well, did you see so like here's what was dangerous about the speech from both Stephen Miller and Marco Rubio is that they like sprinkled elements of truth while painting extremely broad strokes. Yeah. While painting really broad strokes, so that their ultimate goal is just punishing people that dissent against an agenda, because they're like they talk about like left-wing violence and left-wing terrorism, and like that's never been talked about in years under past administrations. And you're right, there have been instances of that. That being said, like they're also talking about people who are sympathetic to left-wing terrorism and jury nullification and all this other crazy stuff. And the writing behind the if you read between the lines, it's basically, hey man, if you mess with a flock camera, or if you are sympathetic to somebody that destroys a flock camera, or if you don't want flock cameras in your community to help stop crime, which is their new thing, then you're siding with the left-wing terrorists. And then so
and by the way, during January 6th, and January 6th was really a stop the steal rally. It was about people recognizing, unfortunately, it took them for their guy to get cheated, and they openly cheated Trump. Trump knew about it, as far as I'm concerned. Like, he's been a character in this whole thing, just as Joe Biden, Obama, Clinton, the whole 9 yards. This is kabuki fucking theater. So Trump knew about it, right? And this was going to happen on purpose, right? And it was about elections. But after January 6th, what happened? Joe Biden signed an executive order granting more money to the Capitol Police, more funding for spying technique. They started looking at the bank accounts. They caught a lot of people that were at the Capitol on January 6th.
Isn't that when they snuck into the NDAA? Like, if you were against capitalism and shit, you could be counted a domestic terrorist and shit. Isn't that the same? Wasn't that the same time? Years ago?
Marco Rubio talked about the other day is what Joe Biden wrote from that. Yes, everything you're talking about. Like, if you were a vegan, you can be considered a domestic terrorist. In other words, they labeled the conservatives and the populist right domestic terrorist. And so many Democrats and leftists were like, yeah, it's about time. And I'm like, no, that is dangerous. It's a slippery
slope.
Vague.
It was vague as shit.
Once you give power to one side and and the other side's in power, they're going to label you a domestic terrorist. So now we have come full circle with this speech from Marco Rubio and Stephen Miller from labeling American citizens as terrorists. And you don't label them as terrorists just for the rhetoric. You do it so you can take away their rights. Go ahead, stranger.
Yeah, well, that's there's not a debate or an argument that is kind of what is potentially happening, or what they're trying to do. With the way things are going, with the fact that we have a $38 trillion deficit, the fact that we're in this K-shaped economy, the fact that AI is going to take a lot of white collar jobs away, and by white collar jobs I mean guys who are making six figures a year, working in an office that have $200,000 worth of student loan debt. You're going to get a lot more people are going to become a lot more socialist in their beliefs because of how the economy and how jobs are shifting. And redistribution is going to be a very popular running point in elections moving forward. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to kind of get ahead of this by saying that anybody who is going to complain about the current system, or anybody who's upset about Donald Trump launching a meme coin theoretically right before he gets into office, or using the power of the presidency to insider trade prediction markets on 100x leverage, you start calling that stuff out. Well, they're not going to do it immediately, but the ultimate slippery slope is anybody that calls out the excessive behavior of the state, regardless of the side you're on. You're going to be a terrorist, you're going to be a dissident, you're not going to have access to food. You'll be unemployable. Police might show up at your house completely unwarranted, and they'll make up some bullshit excuse to arrest you or be super invasive to you. They'll be freezing bank accounts will get frozen, which is another reason why maybe you should get some Bitcoin, because Bitcoin you can't free, it's just money that can't be confiscated or frozen if it's on a hardware wallet. So it's probably a good thing to have it's probably a good thing to have considering the circumstances that we're in, regardless of your viewpoints. And it can't hurt to have a little bit so that you have unconfiscatable money. But yeah, this is generally speaking what's going to happen.
Yep. Well, first,
and then if the left gets power, then they're going to use those same parameters to go after people who are on the dissident right who disagree with them. And then in the meantime, you have this culture that's this algorithmic culture that's all over social media, X specifically, where they reward people who present the most schizo takes on any political subject whatsoever. And you know, when you reward that stuff, people become, it's like Pavlov's dog. You become more and more and more unhinged with what you post. You say things that sound more and more and more schizo. And then in doing so, you create, you know, you're helping to create the next Tyler Robinson, so to speak. And then now they have an excuse to create more parameters. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It is an op, right? But like, then you have an excuse to create more parameters to restrict the freedoms that come living in America.
Let me jump in. It's not even creating more Tyler Robinsons. It's about just keeping people divided against each other.
But that's how you create more Tyler Robinsons. That's how you create more Chud the Builders. Like that. It's exactly what's happening, right? So. And
by the way,
your favorite conspiracy theorist and freedom influencer doesn't want to step back and say, hey, maybe I'm actually contributing to the problem. Maybe I'm serving the New World Order more than these globalists that are like spouting out talking points on CNN, NBC, ABC, and Fox. Maybe actually it's me who's the problem. I should do a little bit of a self-assessment. These people are too narcissistic to care. And so where we are is the New World Order is getting a beautiful right-wing makeover where instead of trans kids, you got looks maxing.
Well, I think that if you frame it as New World Order, it's kind of a lot of hard for people to wrap their brains around. So maybe we should just frame it as the oligarchs, the elites, the ruling class. They're trying to do something. And listen, I'm with you in a lot of things. The reason why we bonded is because I believe the technocrats are the ones we should really fear, right?
Yeah. So it's like the deep state was stopping Trump, but the deeper state got him in. You know, like that's kind of how I look at it.
He was part of the whole thing all along. Where's your coffee?
I don't even. What's that?
You don't drink coffee? Okay.
No, actually, I drink a lot of coffee, but I woke up too late to get myself any coffee.
Oh my gosh!
I work late, bro. I woke up like literally. So what happened was my alarm was setting.
Hold on. I'm trying to set this up for like 10 minutes, and you don't even have your coffee yet. You're rambling on. Stay there. Hold on before you tell us the story. I want to set this up.
All right.
From now on, because I don't want to hear your excuse. Your dog ate your homework. On Sunday night, you work late. You sit that coffee maker, and then so when you're on this show on Monday, you got a nice sip of Joe because
I got energy though. What are we talking about? It does look good.
Love it.
The next cup is great.
I'm gonna be getting myself some Nicaraguan coffee. I'll send you some.
Oh, I love that.
So I don't want to hear it. Excuses. You have coffee on the show, sir.
Fine. Make me drink my coffee.
I do. I want you to.
That's literally that's communism. But okay.
Fucking, you don't even know what communism is. Stop. Can we stop spitting off another subjects? I want to get you in trouble.
Get me in trouble.
Because you were saying all these other things, and we have this kind of election system and stuff like that. You didn't mention that the Zionists, right? Which a lot of people
they killed Charlie.
The Zionists are controlling our government. Would be one to be thrown in there. Now listen.
Well, those guys. That's another thing.
Hold on. Let me set this up because this is important. We're going to have a conversation here. I have a video. I have everything I want to do and stuff like that. And you can defend your position. Because here's the thing. If you are a Zionist of sorts, right, and we'll explain what Zionism is because I think it's very unfair. We had a show before, and I had friends who said to me, man, he's okay with babies being killed. I'm like, no, he is not. He sat there and explained his position on Zionism. Alex is not cool with babies and mothers being killed. However, he believes X, Y, and Z, and I'll let you speak what you believe in because I don't think it's unfair. However, I just put it at a point, and that's why I was so eager to have the conversation with you and go on your show when I went to Austin because I have Zionist friends in Boca. I really do. They're my friends.
Boca, if you didn't have obviously you wouldn't have any friends if you didn't have Zionist friends in Boca.
Exactly. I'll let you throw the punchline in, but okay. With that being said, you know what I'm saying? If you believe in that position, stick by it. In the Democratic Party, the thing they have more than anything, what the right will do, the right will capitulate to law and order against their value system, against the Constitution for a little temporary safety. Like that whole Ben Franklin thing. They'll give up a little temporary safety, you know what I'm saying? They'll give up a little bit of freedom and liberty to obtain a little temporary safety. They will. Flock cameras, okay, that might be unconstitutional, but we got to catch the criminals. That kind of mentality, right?
But they're not catching any criminals. All they're going to do is
Hold on. We're not talking about that. Hold on. talking about something else.
All right.
The left will lie to you. They'll make you believe that they're for a position, and then they'll fucking have this conversation, and it will be tight walking. Be like, wait a second, what the fuck are you talking about? Ro Khanna is one of those people. Ro Khanna is one of those guys who's pretending to be like anti-Israel and you know what I'm saying? Like he's not supporting the state. But for me, if you say Israel has a right to defend itself, you are not really pushing back against Israel. That's my personal opinion. That's code for saying it's okay for them to do what they're doing and it's okay for us to fund them to do that. Like, no. In my mind, and we can disagree about this, but I'm just trying to get you to understand the point where I'm coming from. Like, if you're going to say you believe in something, believe in it. The Democrats have the double take, right? You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit different.
So do the Republicans. They talk about budgets and free markets and and deficits, but then the deficits grow the most when Republicans are in office.
Yes.
And then the Democrats talk about worker rights. They talk about worker rights and then holding large corporations accountable. Yet Max 7 tech stocks and the Dow Jones always performs infinitely better when Democrats are in office because they choke off the competition from smaller businesses and smaller companies.
Yes. What I'm saying is
Ro Khanna's full of shit. That's what you're saying.
Yes. What I'm saying too, though, is the right has a little bit more that we have to do this, unfortunately, and this is going to suffer, right? Like Donald Trump's whole administration, when they started bombing the Strait of Hormuz, what was the line? We're giving up a little temporary, a little short-term pain for the long-term gain. That is kind of like part of Republican politics. Yeah, it sucks that we're going to do this, but it's for this cause. Democrats are a little bit different, is what I'm saying, is where they have that going on too, but they will lie to you. And the problem is the low-informed voters in the United States on the left are mostly concerned with social issues. Like people in the Bernie Sanders diner and the Bernie Sanders movement didn't know shit about foreign policy. They didn't know it at all. It was ridiculous. And we were educating them on it. I'm like, how do you not know this stuff? This is where the majority of the budget is going. And anything they do abroad, they're going to do back home. They weren't concerned about it. Ro Khanna is one of those guys. I want to play this video for you real quick because this is going to be talking about Ro Khanna. Now, if you're asking me, right, I was thinking about getting a shirt, Alex, that said, I love Hamas, right? The reason why I was going to get that shirt is not because I love them, but to understand who they are, right? And you can disagree, but Hamas was a elected party within Gaza. Hamas was started in the 80s. It was formed as part of the resistance, right?
So this is like the PLO and all right.
Whatever the case may be. I'm not going to argue that that's a different debate. But what I'm saying is that I was going to wear that shirt because there are leftists out there like Anna Kasparian who are acting like they're anti-Israel and going, I hate Hamas, fuck Hamas. It's like, you don't know what the fuck is going on, you fucking idiot. Watch a video from Vanessa Beeley.
Anna Kasparian's literally parroting Nick Fuentes at this point. She's lost her freaking mind.
Whatever the case may be. Whatever the case. What I'm trying to say is that this is a clip here with Jeremy Scahill, who started The Intercept with Glenn Greenwald years ago. And he got most of his claim to fame when he went on Bill Maher and he talked about Blackwater, right? And boys and girls, I'm going to refill my coffee as this goes along. But here again, this is the double talk that Ro Khanna constantly does. And right now, they're trying to champion him as a progressive leader to possibly run for president. In other words,
he also lied about being detained by the IDF when it was actually settlers that were detaining him, and the IDF was actually like
not important right now.
No, but it is important though but you're still like making up stories and lying you're just blatantly lying just to get votes, and that's up to your voting base. So it kind of is important.
Shooting on the tarmac, Donald Trump talks this shit all the time. That's different type of lying. What I'm trying to say is that there is a when Donald Trump or his administration has a speech, you think
he's also like 100 million. He's also 100 millionaire with a massive stock portfolio and insider trades more than anybody in Congress. And talks about trading. And then hold on. I could go off on this guy forever, right? And then
let's watch the video first.
All right, go watch the video. Put the video.
Let's watch the video first.
All right,
because this is the thing, and this is where they catch him. And guys, you're watching Drive Time. Let's go full screen on this. This only, Josh. And this is Ro Khanna. We'll get into this, and then we will come back and talk about this because this is important. They are pushing this guy to be the president. They're pushing him as the progressive champion.
Give me another example where you say it's okay to continue any level of support for an openly genocidal society that has mass murdered 80,000 people, more than 300 media workers, has invaded Lebanon, has bombed Iran, and you're saying, oh, but we need to protect civilians. This isn't about protecting civilians. The greatest threat to their civilians is their policy. And so I don't understand why you have even one qualified shred of support for a sniper mass murderer masquerading as the only democracy in the Middle East.
Well, but I'm not saying that the United States should be supporting the funding for Iron Dome, just so we're clear. I'm saying that we shouldn't be restricting Israel from being able to get the Iron Dome or be able to develop the Iron Dome technology. Well,
I stop there. Everything else you're saying makes so much sense. Why do you stop there? It feels to me like you're trying to have it both ways on this issue. So you can say, well, I actually support defending the Israeli civilians. You're not defending Israeli civilians with that policy. You're defending the sniper's ability to keep killing because it won't face the ultimate accountability, which is a total embargo on all support for an apartheid state. October 7th, did Palestinians have a right to attack Israeli military bases in the Gaza envelope? Yes or no?
I mean, I think October 7th attack was a terrorist attack, so I don't justify.
Was it a terrorist attack when the first targets that were hit on the morning of October 7th were multiple military bases? Did Palestinian forces have a right to attack those military bases?
I am not for violence again in any way. I mean, I am for making sure that we end the occupation.
Do they have a right to do it, Congressman? Do they have a right to attack Israeli soldiers?
No, I'm not going to say that Hamas had a right to attack Israeli soldiers or kill Israelis. Like I don't think that advances peace or advances Palestinian statehood.
Does Israel have a right to drop a single bomb in Gaza in response to October 7th?
I believe Israel had the right to get people who killed the civilians, but not in the way they went about it, which I've said is genocide.
But the Palestinians don't have a right to attack the very military bases that are running the killing operations on October 6th, 2023, or October 5th, 2023. It's a double standard. You're afraid of being called pro-Hamas. That's what this boils down to. Because I bet if we were talking off the record privately, and I said this to you, you would acknowledge that people around the world have a right to resistance by all means necessary.
I've always been for peaceful resistance.
And you're saying that there is no condition under which a Palestinian has a right to kill soldiers who are posted at military bases, enforcing by murder and forced starvation and deprivation an illegal occupation of Gaza. That's what doesn't make sense to me. I don't see how you reconcile those two positions.
Because I think that the armed resistance is only going to be ineffective given the power differentials. It's similar to what Gandhi thought in terms of how he took on the British Empire, and that having a moral force of civil resistance and appealing to the world's conscience is going to be much better chance of getting dignity and peace.
2019, the Palestinians organized the Great March of Return, which was a mass nonviolent mobilization at the gates of the concentration camp walls and fence in Gaza. And you know what Israeli soldiers did, Representative Khanna? They had a competition to who could shoot the most kneecaps of Palestinians.
Everything that guy just said is bullshit. Thank you.
Get us back on it, Josh. Thank you so much. And
where was the competition about shooting kneecaps at? Where I want to find some documentation on that, because that just sounds like
okay.
Oh, dude, this
before we get into
documented shit.
Before we get into
put the dots and link the documents to the chat. Like I want to see where that's documented and who documented it and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I would go take a look at the return to Gaza, the Abby Martin video, whatnot. Where she caught people, and the people. Max Blumenthal has done this, where they were bragging about shooting them in the kneecap, and then in a particular press conference when they were speaking to a Israeli high-ranking military official, he even said that
I'll watch
that every bullet. He said that every bullet had a target on it. Now.
I'll watch this, but this also does feel like this might be the left-wing pro-Palestinian version of a Nick Shirley video. I'm thinking that could be kind of.
Well, first of all,
I'll watch it. I'm gonna watch it. I will watch it with an open mind. Though. I will watch it. I'll watch it with an open mind.
I want you to wait. Now, first of all, I want you to have some respect for fucking Are you talking about the movie I just talked about, or that TV show we were watching right there?
Well, you said like there's a whole documentary about this.
Which one did you compare? Okay, yeah, that's Abby Martin, and Abby Martin doesn't like me. Her husband, Mike Preisner, doesn't like me because because my position's on COVID. Like me, Mike Preisner, who's her husband, who has something called, I think it's called the Winter Soldier, right?
Yep.
We'll play that for you later on. We'll play the Winter Soldier. He doesn't like me. He doesn't like, Abby doesn't like V. They don't like our positions on COVID. We've butted heads and stuff like that.
Oh, so she was all pro-lockdown.
Let me just finish my statement. Finish my statement.
All right, geez, don't get so mad, angry. I'm just asking a basic.
I'm not mad.
You're so animated. All right.
Let me finish my statement. You're an asshole for comparing Nick Shirley to Abby Martin, okay?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to watch the video and then get back.
I mean, his point was we don't have a whole lot of love for those people. Don't have a lot of love for him, but credit where credit's due on her work.
Yeah. And
I'll watch the video, but I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if there were some similarities in terms of journalistic presentation.
No, I'm telling you.
We'll watch it. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised.
I've watched it several times. It's a great movie. But and they talk about that, and I think there's other videos that will kind of match up. But listen, that's not the point, Alex, right? Like, we can have a conversation about this, and we should. Obviously, you can see that Alex does, have some positions that he holds where he feels, and I'll let you explain your position.
Okay. Also, this whole wait, stop. That whole interview felt like that whole interview that Ro Khanna was doing, and I don't like the guy at all. He's a two-faced prick, but that also just felt like a giant struggle session where it was like you have to have like this absolute dogmatic, idealistic, viewpoint about what's going on in that region. Otherwise, we're not accepting you. And that's what it felt. That felt like I was watching a struggle session.
But the thing is that he has taken positions up where he is claimed to be pro-Palestinian, anti-genocide, whatnot. You didn't see the hypocrisy in that because once again, that doesn't put into play where Bernie Sanders, AOC, Ro Khanna all pretend to be, but then they go, but they have a right to defend themselves. And when you say that, what does that mean? We could continue to fund the way he was saying, they could resist. First of all, by the way, Alex, I think that according to international law, Hamas has the right to retaliate if they're representing.
You can't justify You cannot justify what happened on October 7th. You cannot use international law to justify.
Before we go to that point.
Once people start going in that, once people start going to the point where
international law, they are permitted to attack an occupying nation. That's what I'm saying. The guy from the USS Liberty has talked about this. When they are the ones who are being apartheided and they are being oppressed, and they have a right to retaliate. Now, you should argue that the retaliation on that day, yada yada yada, whatever the case may be. But according to international law, Hamas and the Palestinian resistance have a right to attack. And
you can't
hold on. I'm going to give you the microphone. Hold on for 30 seconds. And a leftist like Ro Khanna, Bernie Sanders, and AOC, who also pretend, you wouldn't hear me saying Israel has a right to defend itself. I'd be like, no, they don't. They don't have the right to kill women and children, and I'm not going to pay for it. I would be consistent with my views. Now, I could be wrong, but what I'm trying to say is that the Democratic Party as a whole is hypocritical. And this is more damaging because now you actually believe you're standing with somebody who's standing with your value system or your beliefs, and they are fucking duping and lying to you, especially when it comes time to put the pen on the paper. Alex Strenger, go ahead.
Yeah, you can't justify what happened. You can't justify October 7th. Once people start justifying that or start being sympathetic to an openly terrorist organization, whether or not they were democratically elected, whether or not we helped fund them or put them in place, once you start doing that, all that does is lose people. It causes you to it loses the plot, it alienates people, it encourages more activity like this. And then what you do as a byproduct is the backlash to all of that is you get Marco Rubio and Stephen Miller giving speeches at security councils talking about how left-wing terrorism is the biggest threat to our civil liberties. And then you get more tyranny, and then you get more repression of rights and liberties. And then you turn this way, and then you turn like the beautiful country that we live in into a police state.
Yeah,
so I think
you're going off the reservation.
No, it's like that's what's
okay, fine.
Happen.
Sure. That the cause and effect. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you actually said, though. So then, therefore, if Hamas was not justified for doing what they did is it October 6th or 7th?
7.
October 6th or 7th. I think it's October 6th, right? Or 7th.
7.
7. So since Hamas is not justified in doing what they did, then this whole time Israel shouldn't be justified doing what they've been doing, correct?
What were they doing? Like in terms of after?
What are you doing? Go
No,
ahead.
stop. Wait.
How many women and children bombed? Go ahead.
How many? But where are you getting the numbers from? Are you getting the numbers from? Are you getting?
Well, where did you get your numbers from? Where did you get all your statistics from Hamas? Are you going to try to attempt and say that they haven't been killing women and children, that they haven't been flattening civilians in Gaza?
Okay, but
have they not been flattening civilians in Gaza?
Does Hamas also not use women and children as human shields? But they do that too. But that is what happens. It's not okay to. It's not. It's not okay to.
Calm down, gentlemen. Calm down, gentlemen.
Once you start justifying killing women and children, anybody,
okay,
you justify.
Do you
What we get is Stephen Miller, and we got the double standard.
Do you justify using women and children as? Do you justify using women and children as human shields in military operations? Because that's what they're doing also. Do you justify naming schools? Wait, do you justify naming elementary schools?
I'm going to answer your question.
Okay, let me finish. Do you justify naming elementary schools? Well, I'm not finished. Do you justify naming elementary schools after suicide bombers? Do you justify reenacting
how many questions do you want me to answer?
Kindergarten graduation.
How many questions?
That's it. That's literally it.
All right. So, do I justify killing women and children? Bill Burr has this great clip. You got to work around that, man. Like, let's say if there's a guy I don't like and he's holding a baby, I'm not going to punch through the baby to hit him. I'm going to sweep the leg so the baby bounces off the lawn, right? That's the joke part, but you got to work around that, Alex. In no way, shape, or form. And it is you're pulling a Ro Khanna by being hypocritical by saying
I'm
it's
just
not
telling
okay
you what
Hamas did on October 7th, but it's okay what Israel's been doing since. No,
but
Alex.
There are differences. There are differences. Like the Israeli military will tell you what they're. No, they will tell you. They will.
Justification for it, pal.
Okay,
sorry.
They will tell you what they're going to do and what they're going to hit days before anything even happens.
That's a
right?
lie.
And
that's a lie. Where did you get that information? Because I can tell you from credible sources on
what
the ground
sources?
in Gaza, they got something called the double knock. They drop a small bomb on a residential building. You now get 60 seconds to get out of that building before it's fucking carpet bombed. So let's be honest. Come on, brother. Days before, and where are they going to go if they're trapped in Gaza? Where do you go? If the Israelis are holding them there, then it's okay to bomb them?
All right, we got a call coming in.
All right,
we got a caller.
We got a caller.
We got a caller. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Trencher's here with us. I love you, Alex. Don't worry about it. I'm never going to stop loving you.
Right.
We can have conversations about that. It's okay.
No, I mean,
this is a tough one.
It's one of those things that just you get a conversation that just goes around in circles and nothing. You talk about this topic and nothing changes. All it does is it gets people mad. Is really what happens. You know, when everybody talks about this conflict. And
it's
whatnot.
still going on. So
okay,
maybe we got
a caller. Please,
we got a caller.
Guys, caller, who are you? Where are you calling from?
Fred, I'm calling from Evansville. Good morning.
Hey, what's going on there, Fred?
Oh, I'm trying like hell to enjoy the show, but I cannot listen to the Haspera as if it is fact. There is no proof, zero proof that Hamas uses women and children as human shields. That is all Zionist talking point. We have on video, on the other hand, the IDF forces strapping Palestinian children to the front of their vehicles and literally using them as human shields. We have scores of videos of IDF soldiers grabbing Palestinians, women and children, and holding them in front of themselves when they're being fired upon. There is zero evidence that Hamas puts women and children in front of them when they're fighting.
But let me ask you a question. Evidence. Let me ask you a question. Let's say there was evidence, right? Why is it still okay? Why is it still, even if there was evidence that Hamas was using women and children as shields, why is it okay to still bomb through women and children to kill them? That's what I'm asking, Alex. That's the point. I'm like, and I'm with you, Fred. Everything that Fred just said, that's where I stand. But okay, I'll meet you on your level. Why is it still okay, even if they were using, women and children as shields to do that? It wouldn't be okay for a police officer to shoot a hostage being held. Why is it okay for Israel to do that, though, Alex? Can you answer that question?
I don't think we should have a war going on, right? Like, I think that if the international community was a little bit more serious, actually cared about peace, they'd be a lot more serious about getting a peace deal or some kind of negotiation.
So the international community doesn't care. It's okay. I want to know why. Just answer that question. Even if Hamas was using women and children as shields, why is it okay to kill them? That's just because the international community is not doing a good job.
I don't think it's okay to kill women. I don't think it's okay to kill women and children. But, when something like an October 7th attack occurs, you got people, instead of condemning what happened on October 7th, people are having protests against Israel on October 8th. So, I agree, you shouldn't kill women and children. But then after the October 7th attack, what the international community should have done was call for the arrest of the leaders within that government and the leaders of Hamas, so that something like this wouldn't happen and you wouldn't get such a broad-based retaliation that's been lasting for years with no seemingly end in sight. So, I agree, you shouldn't kill women and children. But then at the same time, you should also not have a leadership like Hamas that's, next door, that's right next door in Israel's backyard either, right? Like, you can't justify those guys being in power as well. And if you actually care about peace, you'd want to get rid of those people in power, because an openly religiously extremist movement that's governing a region is also a giant threat to peace, and everybody wants to ignore that.
You're talking about Israel?
I'm talking about Hamas.
When you said a giant religious, you're Jewish, you get to live here, rite of passage government that we fund. I don't know which ultra religious government you're talking about. But listen, I really, to tell you the truth, it still seems, and this is the problem right now, that our morality scale, right? Our morality is off. This is what I think, that a lot of conservatives need a morality check, right? They really do, because at the end of the day, I'm so sorry, but when you say it's not okay to kill women and children, and I hate to put you in this position, right? Because I want you to come back. I don't want you to run away, because it is so hard to defend your position right now.
What's my position? My position is that Israel's a small country the size of New Jersey that deserves to exist and defend itself, and where that people can live peacefully. That's not a hard position to defend at all. It doesn't mean that I want to kill women and children and kill babies and start World War III. That's insane. That's and that does get a little insulting when you love wanting to live in peace in a small country with the fact that, I guess you support killing babies now. I'm like, no, that's bullshit. That's just not true.
Yeah, but you just said, with the position that it's hard for you to defend is when you have to say, yes, it's not okay killing women and children, but that's the hard position to defend, Alex. You know what I'm saying? All that other stuff you said, that propaganda, which they are not. And once again, I wish that these countries, at the end of the day, people get mad and I get mad at people when they play the lesser of two evil games. But I would rather have somebody like Nouriel Rabin, not Nouriel, what's his name? What was Rabin's first name? But a leader like Rabin, right, in there, than a Bibi Netanyahu.
I agree.
And even still, I know a lot of people on the left have problems with that, but they don't have. They have this ultra conservative, religious, ethnocentric fucking leadership that's over the top, that seems to be taking advantage of this. And I don't think it represents the everyday Jewish person.
I agree with you, dude. I'm not
the same way our country is not represented by
Donald Trump in office. I agree. There's no argument. I still think Israel's right to exist and defend itself from terrorism, but I don't think that but I agree with you on who their leadership. And I agree that maybe diplomacy could be better used in this situation. I'm not gonna argue with that, but it's not an easy thing to negotiate, right? They've been trying to do this for 70 plus years to no avail.
Dude, they killed one of their own fucking leaders to torpedo that shit. Are you kidding?
Who's they?
No, well, that's the thing. That's why elections are so fucked up, that they'll say that the Israeli people chose that, but I don't believe they did at one point, right? So it was taken for that. They killed Rabin. They assassinated him. But wait 1 second. I want to get the caller in there. Fred, you called in this morning, so I'm going to let you get a little piece over here and stuff. I know there are people who are like, listen, we got to have these conversations, Snow. We got to have these conversations. I started this show. A big part of it is wanting to talk to normies, right? The AM Wake Up Show was all about talking to people who were fucking way down the rabbit hole. They were talking about robot birds as a starter. So I wanted to do a show where I talk to a lot of normies, with people who watch Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens or mainstream media.
Well,
and I want to have conversations with them.
at this point,
So we need to have these conversations. Is all I'm saying.
Pasta, if you're listening at this point, if you're listening to Candace Owens, you're far from the normie at where we're at right now.
I know that because of your Zionist stance.
No, she's just insane, but that's fine. Okay.
I disagree with her a lot of things, but I can understand why people listen to her. I can understand why people voted for Trump at one point. I just can't understand why they're hanging around. Let's let our caller. Let's let our caller get the final word.
Right.
Fred Word.
All right. Bibi Netanyahu is on video multiple times over the years talking about funding Hamas as a counter to the PLO. They elevated Hamas as a political party inside of Gaza for the election. And as soon as Hamas won a majority, they shut down the Gaza Strip. They put it inside concrete walls, barbed wire, and prohibited travel. It's been under siege since 2006. These people are occupied, and under international law, they have the legal right to armed resistance against the occupying force. Anything that Hamas does against the Israelis is legal under international law, and was funded to hundreds of billions of dollars by Bibi Netanyahu through Qatar. They sent suitcases full of cash into fund and uphold Hamas at the beginning. There is no doubt about this. We have the receipts. They exist.
Facts.
Israel has been promoting the enemy that they created and then blame them for fighting back. And with that, I'll let you go.
Yasser Arafat. I mean, he was a secular leader. Did you hang up, Fred?
I guess he did, right?
Fred.
Well,
yeah, he was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's nice that you shared your point, but Hamas also, so that region also had two governing bodies at that time, which Fred forgot to mention. They had Hamas and they had Fatah, and there were two distinct governing bodies. Hamas launches a hostile takeover of that region. And there's a violent conflict in June of 2007.
You believe that Bibi Netanyahu funded them? I know you're reading stuff right now. I can see you reading it. I heard you type it in, and now you're looking at it. Do you believe that Bibi Netanyahu told the Knesset people that they have to fund Hamas because they wanted to push out Yasser Arafat's secular government?
He said so on video. It doesn't mean that he said so
to do what they're doing now. Okay. Did Bibi Netanyahu do that?
First of all, I think that video was made like 13 or 14 years ago. Yes, I saw the video. He said all that. It doesn't mean that Hamas is not a terrorist organization. We fund terrorist organizations all the time, and we go and nation build in other countries. It was not a good idea or a good move or a good decision. It doesn't take away from the fact that Hamas is still a terrorist organization, and by trying to solve a problem,
how do you
created a bigger problem.
How do you say the same mechanism that funded that organization has a right to exist and to do what they're doing? It's so hypocritical. It's like mental gymnastics at a high level.
I mean, what do you think should happen? And also, let me finish explaining what happened in that region, because he was like, what he said was not fully accurate. You know, like they would like, and I'm sorry that I want to fact check what the person's saying so I can respond to it in real time. I don't have like, you know, the same luxury of being able to be a professional commentator to just constantly research political talking points, you know, while trying to.
Don't get mad.
No, I'm not getting mad. I'm just saying that's the truth, though.
Alex, I love you. Don't be like that.
Okay, but it's not wrong. All right. What I'm saying is that when Hamas gets power in 2006 in January, a year and a half later, they conflict with the rival party and Hamas takes full control. And then in like September, that's when they declare Gaza a hostile entity after there was a violent conflict with a rival faction. So there was a preceding sentiment, and it wasn't just Hamas wins legislatively and they declare it a hostile entity. It's Hamas violently took over their opposition right after those elections. So there's a little bit more nuance to that, and it would be nice for it to share a little bit more nuanced approach instead of being like instead of having a dogmatic and like Israel derangement syndrome. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the caller who was saying things that were not. I'm talking about the caller who was saying things that were like kind of true, but not fully true or not fully well researched. That's all I'm
true.
saying.
He hit it on the nose.
I know he brought.
You agreed to it. You agree. You said that BB did fund the government, so it is.
Yeah,
so
but he also literally just said that right when Hamas gained power, they launched the blockade, and that was.
They did.
This is the guy. This is the guy who's been telling us. Look, this is the guy who's been telling us Iran is 2 weeks away from a nuke for 40
I'm not listening
years.
I'm not listening. I'm not saying this is not I'm not like repeating Bibi Netanyahu talking points, right? Like I'm using a neutral AI agent a neutral LLM to just fact check what was said. And what was said was that in 2006, in January of 2006, Hamas won a legislative majority, and then a year and a half later, there was another governing body in Gaza called Fatah, and they had less extreme viewpoints than Hamas. And Hamas violently took out their political opposition. And then once Hamas violently took out their political opposition, that's when the blockade started. It wasn't when Hamas gained power. It was when they used their power to violently take out their political opposition. That's what was missing.
But you see, once again, it's a hypocritical stance when you are admitting that even Bibi Netanyahu said we have to fund Hamas because if we do,
okay. So all right, then here's the thing. Okay, so we've funded Al Qaeda, right? Or we've helped fund.
Yes, and I've been against it the whole time. Can I answer your question? You said, "What do you want me to do? What do you want to do?" I'll tell you right now.
Right.
I want to stop funding them. I want to stop giving them weapons. Right there, this is not about like your right to your existence in your homeland anymore. This is about colonization and expanding your territory. And the way a lot of people justify that, they say, Pasta, you wouldn't be here today if we didn't wipe out the fucking Indians. Well, that doesn't mean we can continue with that same behavior moving forward. I can't change the past. I can't change. And don't get me wrong, Alex. There are people who tell me on the left, you were born into a colonization fucking, race and stuff like that. Like, I can't help how I was born, where I was born. All I can do is help forge the future. So I get it. And I understand when you say there's other people who put the stigma on you and that they have these certain talking points and they're extreme. And I didn't expect to come on here, for you to come on here today and for me to change you and turn you and make you believe in what I believe. I just simply want to have these conversations that I think are important because I know who you are as a person.
No, I get it. Okay,
I know you're a loving guy. And I know, and I've said this to people, Alex does not think it's okay to bomb women and children. However, there seems to be, from this people who still believe in this kind of rhetoric, some way to justify them doing what they're doing rather than saying, hey, listen, I'm Jewish. I believe that land has a right where Jews can live, but we need to stop acting this fucking way and we need to sit down and come to the fucking table. Instead of using bombs, we need to use our words.
But the problem is nobody is able. Like the problem is it's
impossible because you're not holding your side accountable enough.
Yeah, but that is why. All right, but like when people are walking around justifying October 7th, and saying that it was an act of okay, but I never said you did. Let me finish. Okay, I never said you did, but there are callers in the show that would justify it. There are a lot of people in the leftist movement. There are a lot of people in the Free Palestine crowd that have justified it. I've had them on video saying this stuff when I would go to these like protests. Yeah. When people start justifying this, right? And then when you have this faction of the right that wants to blame the Jews for everything and says that Adolf Hitler was right and is saying crazy fucking shit like this, like that doesn't do you any favors or do anybody any favors when it comes to. Let me say something. Okay, we have a caller.
Yeah. Let me say something. We have a caller. I'm not justifying anything. Like Ro Khanna said, I'm not for anything. But according to international law, and this is what Fred said, and Fred was 1,000% on the nose. According to international law, they had a right to pick up arms to do what they did. Now, the propaganda that's out there, I'm sure there was some of that out there, but Jeremy Scahill even told Ro Khanna the military bases that they had, was it legal for that? He went to specific, and Ro Khanna couldn't say he agreed or disagreed. Do we have a caller, Sleepy, or no?
No, streamer I just couldn't hear anything. I had to come back
okay.
in.
So that's what the bloop bloop was. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I put it private chat. Suddenly streamer just stopped giving me sound. So
Alex, I love you. I want you to come back. I don't want you to think that we're cornering you on this one.
No, nobody's cornering me.
Coming on my show, and my people are very much anti-Zionist, the majority of them. So I know you're walking into the lion's den. So Please don't take it too personal. I know you
Yeah,
haven't,
no,
but I
it's
just want to
fine.
make
But
sure you know.
under international law,
Yeah.
you know, the existence of an occupation blockade or other grievances does not legally justify deliberately targeting civilians or taking hostages at a music festival. So no, it was not justified.
He said the military bases, Scahill said. He talked about that, and Ro Khanna couldn't have an answer on that. So, but by the way, congratulations to Spain for winning the World Cup against Argentina. 1-0 yesterday. That was pretty fun. What did you think about Andrew Tate getting arrested?
Wait, he got arrested again?
They arrested him in Florida, I think, to extradite him to England, I believe.
What do I think about Andrew Tate getting arrested?
You have an opinion about it?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about what I want for breakfast, actually.
There we go again.
I'm with him, actually. I'm with him on this.
I think that the real question is what's for breakfast, you know?
Jeez. By the way, you know, I did want to play this other video too as well, because my friend Miguel Santiago was going to call in, and he was going to say, because where I was trying to go, and I know it was kind of like a weird topic to get on.
But yeah, anyway, I want to say one last thing about this, right? Like, I want to say one last thing, right? And it's that, like, if Hamas just attacked military bases and didn't attack a bunch of kids, like didn't do what they did at the Nova Music Festival, you could have a totally different conversation. The problem is the majority of what they did occurred at a really peaceful music festival, and the majority of the attendees there were actually pretty sympathetic to like the Palestinian struggle in that area and did a lot of stuff to help Palestinian refugees and whatnot, or whatever it is, right? And they went into kibbutzes where Palestinians were allowed to, were going in there and working in these kibbutzes and working in these centers, and they used the knowledge of having worked in the kibbutzes to destroy to just demolish and ravage the kibbutz and destroy the and
I'm wondering,
kill and murder and rape. Oh, let me finish. And kill, murder, and rape people that were in those areas.
I'm wondering
if they didn't do that, if that didn't happen, right?
Okay.
If that didn't happen,
okay. So
then you could say, and all the military bases, then you could justify. But when you attack, like, well, hold on, wait. When you attack, let me finish, because I let you finish too. When you do something like October 7th and then attack like one military base and say they were attacking military bases and then trying to use that to justify what you did under international law, there's no, like, it's just absurd and ridiculous. So that's
okay. I'm just wondering who you think killed the majority of people at that music festival, because there's been a lot of evidence to come out to say that it was actually the Israelis.
Yeah, I don't know.
Down a lot of people with their Apache helicopters, and we saw the actual stuff with our eyes. Like, oh, wait a second. That's an Apache helicopter. But by the way, I want to be careful talking about the music festival, because that's what got, when I was on the Jimmy Dore show, that's what got Jimmy taken off that episode when he talked about that, is the one that got him taken down. So we got to be careful with YouTube.
No,
here's my friend Nick Cruz.
No, I think that's all. But I think you got to differentiate fact from sensationalist nonsense.
Okay, 561-247.
That could be sensationalist nonsense. 21. But okay, I want to see the clip.
561-247-2721. We're here with a stranger. Right. He hasn't had his coffee yet. We're having a lively conversation, and these conversations are very, very important, guys out there. I know some people might be becoming frustrated. So many people are getting aggravated, and you know, like the thing is like this conversation right here. For some people, like Fiorella, my business partner. And by the way, tomorrow's show, I'll be in Peru. I'll be in Peru for the week. We're going to be there covering the actual inauguration, where the indigenous people might be coming in from the outer realms. That's a whole big story. Peru has a lot of lithium, ladies and gentlemen, and the United States wants that lithium. But we're having a conversation, and there are people who can't have these conversations, like with Fiorella, my business partner. She has no patience left for this particular conversation when it comes to Zionism. She's like, nope, won't do it anymore. We're past that point. I'll have these conversations, and I'm not holding anything against Fiorella.
To be fair, a lot of people.
I'm not holding anything against Fiorella.
A lot of people also.
Let me finish my point.
Okay, sure.
I'm not holding anything against Fiorella. It's just that I understand where some of these people are coming from, because they do feel like these conversations kind of go in just a circular panel, you know, like a hamster wheel, and no solutions are made. But I don't feel that.
Yeah, I also but a lot of people, and I feel this way a lot about most people also, is that I also don't have any patience about talking with like you know, about having this conversation with I'm not lumping you in this, but with many of the people in the pro-Hamas crowd, like, because it just goes nowhere, and that's why I'm just like, let's just talk about something else, or talk about sports or what's happening in America. So I agree, I understand, but let's play the clip.
You're entitled to your own opinion, Alex.
No, so are you. So are you.
Yeah, but you're just not entitled to your own facts. Here's Congressman Ro Khanna with Nick Cruz. Gotcha.
Yeah, no, I agree. You're also not entitled to your own facts as well with the Apache helicopters, but let's keep going.
So, Ro, is it about rare earth minerals? Is it about money, or is it actually caring about the Ukrainian people?
For me, it's about the principle of self-determination. I mean, that's what influenced me growing up, right? My grandfather's struggle against colonialism, the belief that people should have the right to have self-determination of their nationhood. It's why I support a Palestinian state, self-determination for Palestinians. It's why I support a Jewish state of the state of Israel.
Do you support Hamas and the right for Palestinians to engage in self-defense against Israel?
I don't support Hamas.
Well, you don't support. So Hamas is an organization with Palestinians, correct? Israel is illegally occupying Gaza and the West Bank and committing a genocide according to international courts. If anyone has the right to self-defense, it will be Palestinians, aka Hamas.
Well, look,
so how do you oppose that, but you want to wage war with Russia because the United States is in their backyard?
I come from a tradition of belief that nonviolence demonstration and the tradition of Gandhi or King is what's going to help.
So why not apply it to Ukraine? There was a peace deal on the table.
Well, because that was the invasion of a sovereign state.
Israel's invading Palestine.
Kind of like I said, at the end of the day, it's he's very hypocritical. He says one thing and he's talking out of his ass about another thing. And that's the thing. We can argue whether it's right or wrong to believe in this or that, but he's pretending to be on one position.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you about
Palestinians have a right to their own state, but yet I'm not trying to like the way they're doing it.
Look, I'm not trying to argue with you about Ro Khanna being a hypocrite. He's a hypocrite on multiple angles. That the fact that he's like supporting the Azov battalion in Ukraine while ultimately standing with Hamas, you can really say a lot of things about that, right? You can be like, oh yeah, I guess you don't like the Jews very much, Ro. Thanks for telling us how you really feel, considering. But no, he's a hypocrite. Like he wasn't anti-war. Where was your anti-war rhetoric when we were sending billions and billions of dollars every month to Ukraine, where that money was being totally unaccounted for, and trying to get Ukraine to join NATO, which would literally trigger World War III if that were to happen? Because then once Russia attacks a NATO country, now World War III happens as a byproduct. No, this guy's full of it. He's not a progressive icon. He doesn't represent working people. The fact that they're choosing a guy with a 9-figure net worth, with one of the largest portfolios in Congress to represent working people and to represent quote unquote progressive causes shows what a joke the modern progressive movement is.
Hey, to be fair, his do you know his district? I used to work in his district. His constituents are all big tech bros that have lots of money, dude. Yeah. That's it. That's his constituents. That's who he works for.
And then he tries, and then when Trump first won, he tries to paint himself as like the centrist Democrat by supporting Elon Musk and being for Doge and saying we got to get rid of government waste too. That actually makes sense, and we should have this discussion. This guy's like a tree branch. He blows wherever the wind takes him because he wants votes and clout and political capital. This guy is probably one of the most dangerous politicians that you could imagine because he's going to do whatever it takes to get him power and control. And he has no moral fabric and no backbone and nothing credible to stand on in any capacity.
What do you think of what's your position right now? And by the way, we're going to pull this up, guys. We want you to call on in. Did you find the Rubio speech by any chance? Sleepy?
I have no idea. I didn't see it to begin with, so I don't know.
You got to Google Marco Rubio's speech and Stephen Miller's speech. That's hold on.
Here it is. I got one of the parts against communism. It's very important. Guys, you're watching Drive Time. Maybe you're listening to us. The number is 561-247-2721. Where you at, Joanna? Are you up? We need you, Joanna. Where you at, Miguel Santiago? We can use a call from you right now, buddy, because my friend John Alexander, I'm talking about people who say they believe in playing the lesser of two evil game. I want to hear from you because they believe that this incrementalism that Ro Khanna's position is better than any other position right now in Congress. I don't want to speak for them, but they kind of got that area. But in the beginning of the show, when we were agreeing on stuff, Alex and I, we were talking about Rubio's speech. And at the end of the day, I think both sides are going to game the system to spread death and destruction everywhere, to have the military-industrial complex still be one of their top donors because they're going to get their way. Here's Marco Rubio asking, and the absurd thing is how much money, you heard Johnson the other day, asked for billions of dollars to fight communism at home. We don't have communism at home here. There's no faction of communism in anything in our politics whatsoever. Socialism and collectivism is not communism. It's just, like I said, it's comical, their positions, whatnot. And they just want to make sure that their capitalist bourgeoisie class gets to keep all the money and doesn't spread it around. I mean, I'm so sorry, but at the end of the fucking day, our infrastructure in this country is falling apart. There's no middle class. We can't buy homes anymore. We're going the opposite way. Does that mean we need just all handouts to make it fucking, this and that? No, but how about using our tax dollars, if you're going to take taxes, on shit the people can use? We can start with fucking high-speed railroad and healthcare. Here's Marco Rubio.
This is what radical leftism is. It may wear various different slogans and ideologies across place and time. They can call themselves anti-capitalists or anti-imperialists or communists or anarchists or Marxist, but the fundamental character is always the same. It's always the same. It is a poisonous resentment cloaked in the language of equality and justice, liberation, an overwhelming need.
I have to stop it too really quick and we'll go on. This is also the part two as well. I'm going to bring the clip up. Speaking about Anna Kasparian, that douchebag, man, I shouldn't say that. That guy who's Patrick Bet-David, his co-host. By the way, Patrick Bet-David is a Uncle Muhammad, if I've ever seen one, which is like a Uncle Tom, but for Persians. That co-host to him was on Piers Morgan. We'll get that video up too as well. What he was saying there, Marco Rubio's too, is I don't know, maybe you can help us out with this, Alex. When people go, are you proud of your country? Do you love your country? Like you have to have this unwavering, just emotional support. Yeah, I love this country for your opinion to matter. That is like the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. And conservatives, the majority of conservatives, I'm not saying you, Alex, because you did that for me and I appreciate you giving me those props. I'm not saying you, but that's a lot of shit that's still going on with the Fox News watching. I love this country, man. That's why you got to vote for Trump. I love this. You love this country, yes or no? Well, when people ask me that question, I would say, well, listen, I don't know what that means, but I don't love my country's government, but I love my country's people. I love my countrymen. In fact, Gabrielle, I said that on the stage of the Minds Fest. I don't think it was when the cameras were running. I think it was at the end when we were walking off and people were asking me, you love this country, Pasta? That's what Marco Rubio is talking about. And J.D. Vance talked about it in that same speech. This is a psyop going on where the right and the left fucking just take turns, pitting people against each other, having you fight with your neighbor so you don't look at them. These people aren't policymakers or lawmakers or governmental representatives. They are there to work for the fucking ruling class. They are stenographers for those in power. And Marco Rubio is simply doing what the fucking left did when they were in charge. And we were telling fucking progressives, hey, man, this is not okay. You shouldn't be labeling American citizens as domestic terrorists. Just because he wears a Trump
but
hat,
the only
brow doesn't mean he should be labeled
the only silver
that? Because they label countries like Cuba a domestic state sponsor of terrorists. Now they don't have to go through Congress. Now you've given the executive branch to kill them, to suffocate them more than ever.
Well, they also have no gasoline either. Still, or
what's that?
Are they still able to get gasoline now, or are they still having gas shortages in Cuba?
I'm assuming they're going to have gas shortages for a while. There's a blockade.
Yeah,
it's a blockade, man. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. We're starving these people out. That's what we're doing.
To annex. The goal is annexing Cuba, is what they're trying to.
When you say annex, what I'm trying to say, it's not annexation. It's about getting the ruling class back their grubby hands on the industry that's there. They controlled it beforehand. I know the Italians got the blames for the casinos and everything, and they did. But all the industry was controlled by fucking multinational corporations. When fucking Castro had his regime, He kicked the bourgeoisie out. It's not his regime, his revolution. He kicked the bourgeoisie out. He cooked out what he called the corporatist class, but it was just the multinational corporations that fucking run things. So, you know.
Hey, let me ask you a question though. Do you think Cuba? I'm not judging you. Do you think Cuba was actually better, and do you think that the people in Cuba were genuinely happier under communism?
Okay, so you're saying it's like communism. I'm saying it's collectivism. And I'm going to tell you that there was just a capitalist class and so many people were poor. I still think the majority of Cubans, when I go there, still support the revolution and what's happening and support the government. But there is a growing faction of people out there, you know, and I wouldn't call them gusanos. I would say the people who came to America, the ones who are anti-government, that Castro called the gusanos. I don't want to say they're worms, but just as a class of people that are against the government no matter what. There's a mixed bag of nuts in Cuba where they're upset at the government themselves. And there are situations in which the government, I think, during COVID, did not make the right decisions. In other words, Nicaragua said, Nicaraguans got to eat. This is what Daniel Ortega said, Nicaraguans got to eat, no lockdowns. Cubans went the other way. Diaz-Canel, wore a mask, shut down the fucking country. And when you're dependent on tourism and you shut down the country in the middle of COVID, you're really going to put some stress on you there. And I don't think that he should have done that. However, I still think the majority problem is the blockade. And they don't see it as communism versus capitalism. They look at it as collectivism. We have to pull our resources together to fight off the empire. And at the end of the day, whether they're better in communism and capitalism, it doesn't change the fact that we are strangling them and we are suffocating them. And we don't need to do that. Castro is not in power. Diaz-Canel is not a military man. If we were serious about opening up things, if Marco Rubio had a shred of decency in his body and he really wanted to repair relationships, he would say, let's sit down and talk with these Cubans. It's different now. The excuses of old we cannot use, okay? There is no Cuban Missile Crisis now. Well, let's get the Cubans who weren't a part of this, the young Cubans, the Cubans I spoke to that were very upset with the government that said to me, Pasta, I don't care about a fuck about the revolution. I'm less than 30 years old. I'm 28 years old, and I don't see a future for myself, right? I want to eat. So I don't give a shit what Fidel Castro did 60 years ago. Find a way to end this, right? So they're a little mad at their government. But at the end of the day, I think the majority of Cubans know that their major problem is the United States, the sanctions, and the blockade. And if we were sincere, we would lift those things and really work out a deal. Let's play this again.
This is what radical leftism is. It may wear various different slogans and ideologies across place and time. They can call themselves anti-capitalists or anti-imperialists or communists or anarchists or Marxist, but the fundamental character is always the same. It's always the same. It is a poisonous resentment cloaked in the language of equality and justice, and liberation, an overwhelming need to tear down what greater men have built, to wreck what is beautiful and what is right on behalf of people who are only filled with ugliness and have nothing else to offer the world. Through violence and through terror, they once again seek to impose their ugliness on all of us. The old dogma was wrong. The old dogma was wrong. None of this is driven by idealism. It is not utopian. In fact, it is the opposite. One of the criticisms you sometimes hear of communism, for example, is that it sounds good in theory, but it never works in practice. That's actually not true. Communism does not sound good in theory. The world it envisions for all of us is small, flat, gray, leveled of all exception, drained of all that is good and noble in the human soul. The world it envisions is a world without courage, a world without creativity or ambition, a world without heroes or glory or great causes to strive towards, without a world without miracles, without myths, without men who rise above the rest to do incredible and extraordinary things. And the world communism envisions is a world without God.
That's not true. I mean, that's the he went for every old school, small-minded talking point that is so boring, trite, beat with a dead horse, stupid. And the communism in Latin America that was taking place for many years is they're all Christians, right? You know, the way the Soviet Union distanced themselves from the church when it came to their lawmaking, even though they weren't anti-Christian, they were just more about ruling from a labor point of view, which meant representing all races and religion.
I mean,
very different in
I
Latin
don't
America.
know. My mom grew up in the Soviet Union, and being a Jew, it wasn't pleasant being a Jew in the Soviet Union, is what my mom told me. So from having grown up there,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But the Bolsheviks, but the Bolsheviks and Lenin himself expressed very, very much not looking at Jewish people in a bad light and holding them accountable, but holding the capital class accountable. The Bolshevik leadership was not anti-Jewish at all.
Sure, but I also at this point in time, like, you know how like a lot of the younger Cubans don't care about the revolution because they're trying to eat and do all this other stuff. Like, you know, a lot of us now, most regular people, also, you know, are trying to eat, start businesses, raise families, do all these things, and so many people in normal America don't really care very much about the Bolsheviks as well. So I think there's kind of like it's kind of a two-way street. I think that what he's saying about communism, like the general idea of what it is, I'm not gonna argue about his definition of communism or his view of communism. The problem is that he painted this in such broad strokes that anybody who opposes corporatism or corporatist takeover of this country, or flock cameras, or the Trump family grifting on prediction markets, or any of these, or the insider trading on steroids that's taking place via these markets and these DeFi exchanges and whatnot, and blocking off exit ramps with some of these crypto bills that are not really doing anything to actually help innovation and doing everything to block off the exit to the fiat clown world. You're painting such broad strokes that there's a potential to call everybody a communist.
Yeah. And by the way, they got rid of the clergy higher ups because they were the landholders and supported the monarchy. Yeah, just in Russia during the Bolshevik Revolution was very much like what happened in Europe. They would use the church. The church was the oppressive arm of the monarchy. That's how they would get their orders acted out. They would act them out through the church. So when the Bolsheviks were closing churches, they weren't pushing back against Christianity. They were pushing back against the landholders on the behalf of the monarchy and also the oppressors. They were the oppressors. They were the visual oppressors. The monarchs were using the churches to do so.
Wait, but how are they oppressed? Just out of curiosity, now that we're in a history lesson on the Bolsheviks, which is really like the most important thing we should be talking about in terms of improving life in America, how did the church enforce all those rules?
Through the monarchy. The monarchy supported the churches just like they did in Europe.
No, but I mean, I just want to understand, just elaborate a little more and explain it like I wear a mask.
The priest would come ask you to do some things. I am taking your children to come be my whatever boys. No, we're not going to do that. Then the priest would then tell the monarchy and his guards would come and enact his laws. You know what I'm saying? Like they would just work through the church like the way they always did in Europ. It was So it was like
a public-private partnership between the church
exactly.
and the state. Okay.
So when the Bolsheviks came along, they got rid of the Tsar. They shut down all these churches. What people don't talk about is that into less than 10 years into Stalin's reign of power or holding power, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to misspeak, because 10 years of him holding the leadership of Russia, he built more churches than any Russian or Soviet Union leader after they had rid themselves of their oppressive arm. And they turned a lot of those churches into pools and museums and all that other stuff. He was almost a priest at one point, Stalin.
Wait, so he built more churches, but then the churches became something that were not churches? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they became real churches. They became real Orthodox churches where people worshiped and stuff, and they weren't working on behalf of the monarchy.
So those churches that were on behalf of the monarchy, they weren't churches. They were just like government projects.
They were churches. They were churches, but once again, they were run. They were the oppressive arm of the monarchy, just like in Europe.
But why would the monarchy need the churches to function?
That's how they carried out a lot of their laws and their rules, was through the church.
But why would they need the church when they have the monarchy?
To carry out they would need the monarchy would need another oppressive arm other than their government, other than their troops and whatnot. The church would be in line with the state, which was the monarchy at the time. They held the land. They did a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? In other words, they were holding on the land. When the Bolshevik Revolution started, there were three groups that were walking in the streets. One group were the troops that were saying, give us peace. Because Nicholas the Tsar had fucking used, just like every other Tsar, had wasted money on wars and all these other things that just really fucking just drained the country and sacked them. So the troops were walking around with give us peace. The peasants were walking around would give us food with signs because they were starving and they were hungry, whatnot. And then the farmers were walking around with signs that said, give us land so we can grow crops. And one of the mistakes of Nicholas Tsar was he had bad agricultural policies, and there were famines all over the place. There was the Great Famine. That's why when people try to blame Stalin for the famines, when famines were taking place in an industrialized country like the Soviet Union, before it was the Soviet Union, and the monarchy was related to the European monarchs, Nicholas Tsar, okay? So, I mean, the reason why I talk about this is two reasons. Number one, the CIA, the American apparatus will always push down the Bolshevik and the USSR, the communism revolution, because they don't want you to think that a class war is possible. That's the main reason why they push it down, right?
Well, I think that class warfare is going to be a big. So here's the thing too. I think that because we're in a fourth turning, which is what happens 80 or so years in this country and in other countries and globally. When you have these big restructurings, there's always class warfare, and all this divisive stuff gets permeated and brought to the top of the news cycle all the time. So I'm like, what we're talking about, what we're going through, everything that people are saying, this isn't new. These type of cycles continually repeat themselves every 80 or so years. And we're in that part of the cycle.
Before we get to that, I don't want to get into that. That's a different
All right,
conversation.
we got a call.
I'm just saying, do we have a caller? All right, we're going to get to the last caller because it is 45. But the reason why they do that, and I'm going to get to the caller, they don't want you to believe a class revolution is possible. And also, people like Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, Dan Bilzerian, and stuff like that can say that the Bolshevik Revolution was about Jews killing Christians. That is such a fucking bullshit thing. They don't ever want you to believe that a class revolution is possible. Caller, where are you calling from, and who are you?
Voice, it just crashed. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
What?
I'm reopening it.
Oh yeah. Also, when it comes to since we're waiting, also when they said that, the communists hate builders.
Caller, you're live.
Oh shit! All right.
Good morning, Anthony Imperio from Fort Lauderdale.
You want me to play the video, Anthony Imperio?
Sure. I was going to make a comment about Ro Khanna, and you're going to call me an incrementalist, and you're going to say I'm choosing the lesser of two evils.
Yes, and it's going to be
But I want a
disturbing.
response.
That's going to be disturbing really quickly because I'm going to feel like all our work that we've accomplished is now going away. Let's play this video and then you can make a comment about it real quick. All the good work we've done is now down the toilet because Miguel Santiago wants to play the lesser of two evils game, which actually sets us back rather than move us forward. You're on Drive Time. Alex Strenger's here, Sleepy J, a lot of cool people, Fred Edward, Gabriel Freedom, our producers. Thank you so much. Let's play this at the 4-minute mark, correct?
Yes, please.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, caucus meetings. But this should have been such a simple vote. I mean, we have to go beyond this, but obviously we shouldn't be giving them U.S. tax dollar aid for military weapons. In my view, we shouldn't be giving them military weapons to be killing civilians. And we need to be sanctioning the banks and government officials who are engaged in the settlement and work on recognizing a Palestinian state. But in my view, you had 103 folks, and the new Congress, you're going to have even more, and that it's going to become a very, very small minority eventually that is going to be saying, let's just have continued aid to Israel.
It's pretty wild to see Nancy Pelosi vote for it and Hakeem Jeffries vote against it.
Yeah.
And Pelosi, people are sharing all kinds of clips of her now saying, like, if the Capitol were to crumble, the one thing that would remain is our, solidarity with Israel. And now here she is on her way out. She's like, yeah, we'll vote to defund this.
I think enough. That's
okay. So let me just say this. I'm going to let Anthony Imperial speak and stuff like that. Ro Khanna says this shit when the Democrats don't have power in Congress. That he knows that he can say this stuff and it doesn't make a difference. Israel's going to still get their money and they're still going to get their funding. Where were these voices when the Democrats controlled the majority of Congress? He was not leading a movement to defund Israel then. Neither was AOC. None of them were when Barack Obama was the president and they were all in office and they had the majority of Congress the first time. Same thing with Biden when they had the majority of Congress. None of this stuff happens. And then he exposes himself by, when I showed you with the two videos, that we played earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Imperial. Is this Miguel Santiago or who's this?
Anthony Imperial.
Yeah, Anthony Imperial. Please, caller, respond.
Yes, I think Roe should be championed. He's one of the few people in Congress that is actually introducing progressive legislation. He's one of the few people in Congress voting for progressive legislation. He was one of the people in Congress that kept our military from being merged with Israel this week. He is voting against all funding to Israel, not just defensive funding. He's backed legislation in various areas that are progressive causes, including the Epstein files, including defense, including the environment. I mean, if all you got to do is like do a chat GPT on what progressive legislation he supported. He's actually putting his money where his mouth is, and not just talking. He did it also.
Why didn't he introduce this stuff? Why didn't he do this stuff when he was? Hold on, we get Michael Imperial. Sorry,
Anthony. Come on, call my right name. Jesus, Pasta, come on.
Anthony Imperial. Why didn't he do this stuff when he had the majority in Congress and all these laws got passed when he was there? Why didn't we hear all this rhetoric when the Democrats controlled Congress? Why are we only hearing it when the Republicans control Congress? And you did hear the tape about him saying that, you know, they had a right to defend themselves and Hamas didn't have a right to attack back. I mean, how do you square that circle over there? And
I think the drop site interview. Go ahead. Sorry, Paul.
Good. I was going to say he did not try to defund Kiev. He hasn't said let's pull the funding from Ukraine. He's still all for that. So he's not pro peace, right? He's if he's okay for funding Ukrainians, Nazis, to kill women and children in the Donbass, don't you see some inconsistencies there, Anthony?
Yeah. Well, just to check your facts, it was April 2024. He was one of the 37 Democrats and 0 Republicans. Well, actually, 1 Republican, it was Massey, who voted against the $26 billion aid package to Israel. He was one of the few in the minority to vote against it back in 2024. So I don't think it's accurate to say that he just showed up at the party late. There are plenty of examples of what he did during the Biden administration, and you know, I don't know. You know me. I'm no partisan. I squarely put Biden on the short list of people responsible for the genocide in Gaza. You know, so this knows no party, but I think we should be spending our energy criticizing elsewhere, not one of the best examples we have. And
but
believe me, there's shit, but there's shit, but we're criticizing one of the best examples we have in Congress. Right?
It's not a best example because all these votes come when Republicans are in Congress, when they control the Congress, and you can maybe put a vote out there and it can look like a protest vote, but you know it's getting through, especially when your handlers tell you it's okay. He's never been about defunding the Ukraine-Russia war. In fact, he said Putin this, Putin that. And in his language, he just said that the Israelis had a right to go and kill or defend themselves against the people who killed them. So he's being hypocritical. Don't you see that when he does this stuff, it actually it's more negative than positive, because you actually have somebody who's pretending to be against the cause when he's for the cause. He said in that video, and I know you said it, I sent it to you too as well, when he said plain and simple, Israel had a right to do what they did. He didn't like the way they were doing it, but once again, you know, they had a right to do what they did.
Well, also, here's the thing, right? And just to say it on a different standpoint, he goes from defending Israel or supporting a Jewish state to exist to all of a sudden doing a complete 180. And the reason he's doing this 180, then lying about being detained by the IDF when it was actually a couple of settlers that detained him in the West Bank, and then the IDF were actually cool and helped broker so that him and his staffers can travel peacefully. Like he's only doing this because he sees where the political tide is shifting, and all he wants to do is advance to higher office. Everything that this guy's doing is a strategic stepping stone because he wants to be president, and then he just doesn't care about any causes. Like when Trump got elected, he was for all the Doge cuts, because it was going to help with his Silicon Valley donors and his living in his district so that he can fundraise and remain in power. And now that Trump is no longer popular, and now that the whole Epstein thing becomes a debacle, he becomes the biggest voice about releasing the Epstein files. He never said anything about Epstein when Biden was in office, and good on him for trying to get transparency for the Epstein files. Good on him for wanting Ro Khanna for at least talking about it, right? Good on you for doing that, but you're doing it
once again. He didn't talk about it.
Relevant.
He didn't talk about it.
He's the left wing. He's the left wing Ted Cruz. Okay,
when Hillary Clinton was running, hold on, because we have to wrap the show up, and you can't talk for 6 hours all the time.
I'm not. You're the one.
You're done. Hold on.
90% of the talking, though.
Okay.
You do 90% of the talking.
He made two good points, though.
He didn't talk about Hillary Clinton. He didn't talk about the Epstein files when Hillary Clinton was running for office. He didn't push for them then. That's the hypocrisy I'm talking about. We're going to give Anthony Imperial the last word.
Okay, Anthony, I want to say one last thing.
Hold on. We're going to give Anthony Imperial.
It's one sentence. So Ro Khanna is basically like the left-wing version of Ted Cruz. And when the Democrats are in power, right? Ted Cruz is like a big champion for freedom and for sound money and for conservative principles and values and for like upholding what it means to live in America. And then all of a sudden, once the Republicans get in power, none of that exists in any capacity. So he's the left-wing version of Ted Cruz is what Ro Khanna is.
Anthony Imperial, 60 seconds. Last word. Take it, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, he did make two good points, but I just want to comment on the drop site news. That was a bad look, and I think, yes, I agree that he's a climber. That's undeniable. I mean, I think an argument could be made as a progressive that you want someone like him to be a climber, but we'll put that aside. But the drop site news interview was a bad look. That's hard to deny. I think he just did not want to be backed into a corner with a sound and create a sound bite that he supported Hamas on October 7th. He did not want to create a soundbite there, and I think he was trying to kind of dodge and weave his way out of that question by not creating.
But the fact that you need the fact that you have to say that, the fact that you have that in some of these circles you have to actually endorse and support October 7th. In order to be accepted and considered ideologically pure is a huge fucking problem, and nobody wants to address the elephant in that. Yes, it is a huge problem. Are you on drugs?
Supporting international law. You're supporting the right for an oppressed society.
International law does not justify what happened at that festival.
All right, calm down. We got 3 minutes.
You have to be on drugs to think that that's a good idea. Like that's retarded. That's beyond. That's
we don't have to talk about the same thing again. We talked about
it. But it's a big. But he's actually right. Like the caller, Mr. Anthony Imperial is kind of right about that.
What our first caller said, Fred Edwards, that they had a right by international law to take up arms and fight back for themselves.
Yeah,
that is the difference.
By attacking a military base, not the Nova Music Festival. Two different things.
Well, you could say that. Then you can point that out. But at the end of the day, according to international law, it was legal. Anthony Imperial, thank you for calling in. We love you. I appreciate you giving us your point of view. I understand, but incrementalism is not the way. And it's just not, it's going to hurt us more than it's going to help us. If he was being honest and saying, let me just say this, and it might be a problem, but had he said, and like I said, I was going to make a shirt that said, I love Hamas, so people can understand the mentality about what's really happening with the resistance. Talking about how we conduct warfare is one thing. It'd be great if Alex would hold the IDF to the same standards. We love you, Anthony. Alex, I'll give you the last 30 seconds. You can say what you said and then get on out here. Let everybody know where they can find you so I can do the closing monologue, I got to pack. So
yeah, no, as your friend, I wouldn't recommend a I Love Hamas t-shirt wearing it in public. Or actually, no, you should live stream yourself wearing it in Boca and see how your reactions get. It might help add some numbers to the show.
I thought about doing it because I want people to understand exactly who Hamas is and what's going on. But that's beside the point. You wore a Transvax shirt in LA, so shut the fuck up.
I was never in LA. What are you talking about?
I know, whatever.
Austin is like a
you were
LA,
somewhere liberal talking to people in a liberal town talking to people.
Austin. I was in Austin.
We were in Chicago together, and I think
I wasn't wearing that shirt. No, I was not. I was actually in full. I actually wear real costumes where people mistake me for the people that are at the protest, which is why I'm so good at this. But that's another story. All right, I don't want to beat a dead horse about how what happened on October 7th was justified under international law. It wasn't. Were there things that led to a backlash that caused October 7th? Sure, you can make that point. But to justify October 7th and say that it was legal under international law, it loses the plot and it doesn't help with.
For you, it loses the plot.
No,
not for most people.
It loses the plot for everybody.
No, it does not.
Go do some street interviews. Go do some street interviews with people and ask if they think that October 7th is justified. I will actually. What we'll do, we'll see. And we'll
let
see
everybody know where they can find you, handsome. We're going to be back Monday.
We're back on Monday, yeah. But no.
I don't know what time let me see what time I fly out Monday. But let everybody know where they can find you, first of all. Some of the videos, those videos that went viral when you were at those protests, remember when you were acting like a liberal and they were pulling you away and stuff? Let them know where people know where they can find those videos.
So go on X at the Alex Stranger, YouTube at Alex Stranger, Instagram Showtime Alex Stranger, Rumble Alex Stranger. Really simple. Type my name into Google, you'll find it all. All right, thanks for having me. I gotta go. My kid is trying to go to sleep.
Next Monday it might be tough because I'm flying out of Lima, so we got to see what's going on. I'll let you know.
No, that's fine. I may have something that I have going on.
We might not have a show next Monday because I might be catching a flight.
That's fine. I'll catch him on sleep and. Really sad for Andrew Tate. It's clearly a miscarriage of the American justice system. Obviously, Mossad got to him. There's no other way. That's why he's arrested. So, anyway, excited to have breakfast.
Love you, Mike. Go ahead, Mike. Alex, I love you. Go have breakfast.
Breakfast. All right.
Sleepy. He's frozen. There it is. How you doing, Sleepy?
I'm all right. I'm tired.
Some of y'all got frustrated. I want to have these conversations. Monday will be fun when we bring them on back and have these conversations. They're tough, but a lot of people are out there, and I think it's just trying to find a way to move forward and talk, because there are people out there that do feel that way. But I think the majority of people have come around now, and they don't want to see women and children being killed on their tax dollars. And that's why I consider
I do have one thing to say. There's just a brief reminder that there's no justification period for genocide, and they kind of decided that in court during, when we were hanging Nazis. So
as a fun-loving atheist can do that, can decide that too as well. Genocide's not good. Killing women and children are no good. So
there's never an excuse for it. You can nuke someone; it's still not an excuse to genocide them back.
Yeah, it's not an excuse for what we did in Nagasaki, Hiroshima. Let's get the music.
Correct. All right, let's see if the tech gremlins are going to be shit.
Wow, what a lively show. Who needs coffee when you have drive time in the mornings?
All right, say something real quick. Yeah, it's doing the stupid thing.
All right, as we wrap up today's show, let's take a moment to reflect on the importance of diversity of thought and the peace we can cultivate with our neighbors. In a world that often feels divided, it's our differences, like the ones me and Alex Stranger had, that can actually bring us together. Every unique perspective, every story shared enriches our collective experience and fosters understanding. Remember, it's okay to disagree. It's how we handle those disagreements that truly matter. Let's embrace dialogue over debate, passion over conflict. When we listen to one another, we open the door to meaningful relationships. By engaging in our diverse communities, we can find common ground and build bridges that promote peace. So I encourage you to reach out to someone with a different viewpoint. Share a meal, have a conversation, or simply listen. Let's create a ripple effect of kindness and understanding in our neighborhoods and beyond. Hey, thank you for tuning in today. Remember, together we can celebrate our diversity and pave the way for a more brighter, more peaceful future. So until next time, let's keep the dialogue flowing and that peace growing. For Alex Stranger, Sleepy J on the ones and twos, Craig Pasta Jardula, all our lovely, awesome people in the chat today. You guys were amazing. You held it down. Thank you so much. Gabrielle Freedom, our producer, our co-producer. Fred Edward, of called into as well from Evansville. We love you, my man. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. I'll be in Peru, but the show will be live. Let's share it on out. Until then, keep it happy. Peace.